From Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go, this is Valley News Live at 10.
Tax time can be stressful as people are filling out their forms. Some are running into issues regarding who can be claimed as dependents. Valley News Team's Alexandra Kay has one woman's story and how you can avoid it happening to you.
It seems simple. A child lives with you, you pay the bills, you should be claiming them as your dependent. However, some people in the area are finding out that it's not always that easy.
Well, I went to do my taxes and I got rejected because somebody else already claimed her and I had the child for about a year and a half.
In this case, Sally says the child's parents aren't in the picture and she takes care of everything. According to the tax code, the rule is that as long as you have had the child for at least 6 months, that child is yours to claim as the dependent, even if you aren't the child's legal guardian.
I don't understand how the system's working. And now I have to wait for an answer back from the IRS because I had to submit a letter to them.
It's situations like this that can wreak havoc for those affected during tax season, resulting in having to file by paper, which means more delays.
And the IRS will sort it out. They will do their best to make sure that the person who has the right to claim the child does get to claim them. Of course, it's a slower process when you file on paper than in e-filing.
The best way to avoid issues during tax season is by getting a head start. That way you are made aware of any issues early and can get on the way to resolving them just as fast. For those dealing with tax issues, staying patient will pay off.
Don't panic. It can be resolved. The IRS is very helpful in getting it resolved. It does take time, though, and it does take patience to get through the process of resolving it.
In Fargo, Alexandra Kay, Valley News Live.
And if you have questions for the Internal Revenue Service regarding your taxes, there's a toll-free number to call. It's 1-800-829-1040. It's available from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. The best time to call is early in the morning. 3 people were arrested after a traffic stop in Fargo. One of them turned out to be this week's Friday felon, 31-year-old Theodore Henry. The others included his wife, 36-year-old Heidi George, and a passenger, 35-year-old Ashley Wagoner. A canine located 78 grams of meth inside the car. Henry was arrested not only on previous warrants, but for possession of meth with intent to deliver. George was arrested for possession of meth with intent to deliver. Wagoner on non-related warrant. We're learning tonight that the Detroit Lakes massage parlor, where a woman was arrested on a charge of prostitution, is still open for business. Authorities say they're keeping a close eye on the place after a 3-year investigation revealed employees were offering sexual favors to customers. Investigators say 60-year-old Jin Lan Lee was housing the employees about a mile away from the parlor.
Surprised. I mean, wouldn't you? It's not like you hear about that kind of stuff like right across your street every day, you know.
After searching the house, authorities say they seized over $31,000 in cash, among other items. If convicted, Lee could spend up to 16 years in prison. Some residents at a North Fargo apartment complex will be happy to know that their parking lot was getting cleaned out tonight. We aired a story earlier about complaints at the Bridges apartment building near NDSU. Residents said that there wasn't enough parking spots because of the snow in the parking area, and they were getting towed for parking improperly or on streets where there are restrictions. The building is managed by Profit Limited Partnership. Federal authorities are joining in on the investigation into the cause of a fire that destroyed a historic bar in downtown St. Cloud. A team arrived today at the scene of the Press Bar fire to join local and state investigators. That fire broke out Monday morning, but by afternoon, the 2-story building had been leveled, resulting in over $1 million in damage. The federal help was requested because of the size of the building and the amount of damage. We've done many stories about postal complaints in our area. In response to those and others from across the state of North Dakota about postal service, U.S. Senator John Hoeven held a roundtable discussion where residents got the chance to air their grievances directly to USPS workers. One of the biggest concerns, they say, lack of communication. Senator Hoeven says he plans to follow up with USPS in October. Wells Fargo has been hit with a $3 billion fine as punishment for creating millions of fake accounts over the years. Wells Fargo did admit that between 2002 and 2016, it falsified bank records, harmed the credit ratings of customers, unlawfully misused their personal information, and wrongfully collected millions of dollars in fees and interest. A Fargo woman who is part of a class action lawsuit against the federal government says you shouldn't work for the U.S. Census Bureau. Sally Stutleen says that she worked for the census for 6 years as a field representative. A few years after quitting, she says she learned that she was underpaid during her time there. The class action lawsuit claims workers weren't paid a premium for Sundays. All other federal agencies received extra for working Sundays, except field representatives.
But it's infuriating when I hear them advertising what great employers they are when they're not paying the people that have worked for them in the past.
According to the lawsuit, Stutleen is owed nearly $3,600, and one of the attorneys says that she hopes they can all get paid sometime this year. A total of 3,500 people are owed about $10 million. Democratic presidential candidates are on the last tour around Nevada before tomorrow's First in the West contest. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders has a commanding lead in the latest polls, but other candidates are banking on Nevada's diversity and labor for a boost at the caucuses. Natalie Brand has our story.
Senator Bernie Sanders wrapped up a day of campaigning in California before heading back to Nevada on the eve of the Silver States caucuses.
We have the strongest grassroots movement of any campaign.
A new poll shows Sanders, a self-described Democratic socialist, way out in front of the field in Nevada. Moderate Pete Buttigieg, neck and neck with Sanders after the first two contests, is going after the Vermont senator for his more extreme positions.
Even though he's got very strong base of support, that's clearly not what most Democrats want.
Buttigieg has been focusing on key issues for Democratic voters, including climate change and health care, while former Vice President Joe Biden is courting labor unions.
I promise you, you will not regret having supported me.
Saturday's caucuses will be the first test for Democrats in a more diverse state.
I like to think of Nevada as the true start of the presidential primary for Democrats, because Nevada is majority people of color.
In a state also known for electing female leaders, Elizabeth Warren doubled down on criticizing billionaire businessman Michael Bloomberg for non-disclosure agreements at his company.
Michael Bloomberg needs to do a blanket release.
Bloomberg announced Friday that his company had identified 3 women who signed non-disclosure agreements over comments he made, and they would be able to talk about their allegations. The former New York City mayor is not competing in Nevada, but the other candidates are hoping for glitch-free caucuses on Saturday after weeks of fallout from Iowa. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Minnesota U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar has plans to stop at NDSU on Sunday. Doors at the Memorial Union open at 10:15 a.m., and then the rally starts at 11. She'll be here ahead of the North Dakota caucus on March 10th and the Minnesota primary March 3rd. Minnesota's precinct caucuses are likely to be less raucous this year and less crowded than in the past. The state has shifted its presidential preference process away from caucuses and into a primary election that's part of Super Tuesday next month. But Democrats and Republicans say important business will still happen at the neighborhood meetups Tuesday evening. For nearly a century, universities like St. Thomas have used standardized tests to bring in new students. But this week, that school decided to break away from the tradition. Starting in fall of 2021, the ACT will be optional at St. Thomas. For students who take it, their score will still be considered. Those who don't, it won't go against them. A school official says tests are barriers for some students who deal with stress and anxiety, or come from low-income families who can't afford transportation or the cost of taking a test.
Even down to high schools will differ. Some high schools have the resource and the wherewithal to really drive to the test and prep for the test and make sure that, their students do really, really well on the test. Other high schools don't have that resource.
Bemidji State University, along with the University of Minnesota Crookston, are also test optional.
Valley News Live 10 at 10 continues with no wait weather.
All right, beautiful weather today. We are cooling off into the teens for many, 20s for us here in the Red River Valley and points west and farther to the west, still near 30. out in Hettinger and in Dickinson. Those areas heated up to almost 50 degrees today. Visible satellite, where you see the dark colors here, that is ground that is free of snow, allowing temperatures to really soar. That snowpack, well, it causes a lot of the sunlight to reflect right off of it, and the energy that's in the sun oftentimes goes towards heating up those snow piles or melting it. Looks like the ground free of snow out there to the west, but that's the trees of Minnesota playing a few tricks on us. Where the snow wasn't, temperatures were very hot, but we enjoyed some wonderful weather here and did a little melting of our own. Right now, 20 degrees with the wind at 9 miles per hour. It's from the south, and temperatures not too bad. Still mid-20s, Valley City and Devil's Lake, 27 in Cavalier, and temperatures near 20 for the Detroit Lakes area and for Fergus Falls as well. An area of cloud tonight as we head to bed. As we take a look at that jet stream, it's way up to the north in Canada. Now, the jet stream exists. It is located where it is, right on the area where the greatest temperature differences are. So here on the south side, we have milder temperatures and much colder up to the north. That's what drives those jet stream winds, and we're definitely on the warm side of that jet stream. Here's a look at your hour-by-hour forecast. Our temperatures will slip into the teens. For some of us, in parts of our southern and eastern counties, we'll be possibly flirting at least with those single digits to start our day, but many of us in the teens. And out to the west, wow, still near 20 degrees to get things going. As we go through our Saturday, there'll be a southwest breeze that is, well, fairly persistent, 5 to 15 miles per hour, not too bad, but we'll notice again an abundance of sunshine, midday temperatures soaring all the way through the mid-20s and into the mid-30s. There'll be a legitimate shot at a 40-degree reading here and there, and I think the best chance of that might be here along the international border, not far from you in the Cavalier area. Also, there'll be a shot in the trees. Those trees absorbing some more of that sunlight and heat, helping to warm things up a little bit there. So if you're in Bemidji, there'll be a shot at 40 degrees there. Here's your planner for Fargo. We warm up through the teens in the morning. In the afternoon, we really soar from the teens all the way into the mid-30s, maybe briefly upper 30s. After that, we cool off quietly for an absolutely fantastic start to the weekend. Temperatures across the region and your hometown, 35 to near 40 for eastern North Dakota, and in western Minnesota, likewise the same. Here's a few deer out there enjoying the warm weather. David capturing this near Foreman. Here's a look at your planning forecast. It looks breezy on Sunday, and temperatures will be a little bit cooler, but still fairly pleasant. Monday, still fairly pleasant. But after some flurries on Tuesday, that's that storm we've been watching. It will impact midweek the central plains, and then later in the week head toward the east coast. For us, we'll be on the cold side once again, and we cool off. So enjoy while you can.
We certainly will. Thanks.
Yeah.
Up next on Valley News